Good evening and welcome to the Xenia City Council meeting for Thursday, October 23rd, 2014. We've been in session since 6 p.m. on a stormwater presentation and then for a little bit more than 40 minutes in an executive session on personal matters insurance renewal. We're now ready to begin our regular session and would invite Mr. Charlie Huff to come to the podium for the invocation, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance led by the mayor. If you would join me in rising, please.
Good to see all of you again. Bless all of you. May we pray. Dear Father in heaven, we gather together again tonight to pray. If my people who are would humble themselves and pray and seek my face. That's what you said, Lord, to pray. So many people, Lord, ask for prayer. We come tonight to pray for the city council and thank them, Lord, for what they do for our city, the time they take. We pray for our firefighters and our policemen and our troops overseas protecting us against harm's way. Lord, there's so much to pray for. You said pray without ceasing. Pray one for another. Take on each other's burdens. Think more of others than I do myself. Thank you, Father, for what you have done for all of us. As I look back over the years, I've been blessed beyond measure. Lord, as we come tonight to pray, your eyes are up on each and every one of us. We are made in your image. Thank you, Lord, for loving us, to give us another chance as you sent Jesus to make a way. Thank you, Lord, for this council as we come. Thank you for each and every one that's here today. The TV audience, as we come and pray. Some don't want prayer, but prayer is the key to the kingdom. And thank you for the opportunity to come to you in conversation and ask and listen to the Creator of all good things. Thank you, Lord. And we come to you with thanksgiving. We are blessed to be an American. We come in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Charlie, and thank you, Mayor. May I have roll call, please?
Vice President Long.
Here.
Councilman Kaut.
Here.
Councilman Louderback.
Here.
Councilman Smith.
Here.
Councilwoman Mills.
Here.
Mayor Bayless.
Here.
President Engel.
Here. Thank you. May I have a motion, please, for approval of minutes from the October 9th, 2014 special session, please?
So moved.
Moved by Councilman Louderback, seconded by Councilwoman Mills, by a nose. Any question or comment on the special session minutes, please? Seeing none, roll call.
Vice President Long.
Aye.
Councilman Kaut.
Aye.
Councilman Louderback.
Aye.
Councilman Smith.
Aye.
Councilwoman Mills.
Aye.
Mayor Bayless.
Aye.
President Engel.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you. And now a motion, please, for the October 9th, 2014 regular session minutes.
So moved, Mr. President.
Moved by Councilman Louderback, second.
Second.
Second by Councilman Smith. Any discussion or question on these minutes, please? Seeing none, roll call.
Vice President Long.
Aye.
Councilman Kaut.
Aye.
Councilman Louderback.
Aye.
Councilman Smith.
Aye.
Councilwoman Mills.
Aye.
Mayor Bayless.
Aye.
President Engel.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you. At this time, we have the opportunity for two special presentations tonight. The first by Marty Heidi District Outreach and Director of Special Events for Congressman Mike Turner.
Hi, thank
you,
you
ma'am.
very much. I'm Marty Heidi. I'm Greene and Fayette County Outreach for Congressman Mike Turner. And my job is to kind of reach out to you as council members and community to let you know about some things that are going on in Congressman Turner's Dayton District office. This summer, we saw a lot of applications for passports and expedite of passports go through our office. So I wanted to come tonight and kind of talk about the importance of having a passport, of getting a passport, and also the process that you can use to get one. The first method is the normal method. You apply for it and you pay your money, and it's 4 to 6 weeks. But if you're on Jeopardy and you win a trip and you have to leave in a couple of weeks to go on a trip that you've won, you can go through the post office and they guarantee it about 2 to 3 weeks. Congressman Turner's office can do an expedite request for 10 days to a week, or a week to 10 days. And then if you need it, like tomorrow, you're going to have to do it the hard way and drive to Detroit and walk in and get it issued on the spot. So we can help you if you have questions about that process. The Department of State has provided information about traveling. The Department of State does a lot for tourist information. You can go on and see if there's any travel advisories to the places where you're visiting. There's a STEP program, which is the Smart Traveler Enrollment Program, where you register your trip. So if someone's trying to reach you and you're out of a cell phone area, as you might be overseas, the consulate or embassy can find you and track you down. The other thing, too, is we always recommend travel insurance, both health care insurance and also traveler's insurance. Medicare does not cover overseas, so you need to make sure that you're covered for health care. I've heard stories where someone is in an accident overseas and the United States government will med pack you back to the United States, but then they'll send you a bill for $60,000. So you have to be very careful about traveling, and you never know. Hopefully you don't run into that. But just wanted to let you know that this information is travel.state.gov is the website for all of your travel information. They talk about visas. And again, Congressman Turner's office can help with getting a passport expedited quickly. Any questions? Central State football team and band went to the Bahamas. We got a lot of business from that.
Thank you. Any
So-
questions from colleagues, please?
Okay.
One other thing I might add,
Yes, sir.
I have just a little bit of experience with this at Wright Pat, also at state.gov, and I'm sure the congressman would reinforce this thought with you as well as I will. We live in the greatest country in the world. It's wonderful to see the rest of the world, but please be careful as you travel abroad. State.gov also has a number of areas on their website for travel warnings and travel advisories that gives you excellent advice for you to be forewarned that as you want to go and see a particular country, there will be medical alerts, there will be other kinds of alerts just to make you a more informed and more well-prepared traveler. So please exercise and use that option as well for your benefit.
I think our resident from West Carrollton just recently learned the dangers of traveling to North Korea.
Yes.
Yeah, so, okay. Well, thank you very much. It was a pleasure to be here.
Thank you very much. Our second special presentation this evening is Pastor Greg Delaney from the Jeremiah Tree. Please come forward, sir.
I believe that was on the chalkboard, just was left behind before the students vacated that. I want to thank you for allowing me to come back and be in front of you again, kind of with a different hat on tonight than before. But over the next 10 or 12 minutes, what I wanted to share with you was something that we're calling transformations. And kind of the less pretty title of it is the Simon Kenton Project. But we pick kind of transformations for this reason. We view this as an opportunity to transform a building that will in turn potentially transform lives, that will in turn potentially transform a community. And so part of the reason why I'm been tasked with kind of sharing where this has gone and the vision of what this coalition that we're calling the Simon Kenton Coalition is working on is, as executive director of the Jeremiah Tree, I, along with the folks that are here with me tonight, Pastor Edgar Wallace, Marlene Labig, Todd Rapp, and Cheryl Carter, we're making up this little team of folks that are also engaging some other people in an effort to take a look at the potential of transforming Simon Kenton into a community center. And I'll tell a little bit more about what that could be in just a second. But why have me and why have the Jeremiah Tree kind of marshal that effort? The reason behind that is that we are engaged with the folks who potentially could benefit from such a center. Each and every day at the Jeremiah Tree, they're coming in to see us. And so because we're kind of working on this ongoing each and every day, it made some sense for us to be able to hopefully communicate a little bit of what I call the plight. And so this presentation talks about the plight, the possibilities, the plan, the proposal, and the partnership, and our kind of proposition to council tonight. The plight. I want you to imagine a single mom who loses her job due to some medical complications, and as a result, she loses her home. She has to allow her mother to take custody of her child for a short period of time while she transitions to try to find a place to live. Also imagine a young man who's just recently emerged from our Christopher House program for recovery, only to find that he was homeless before he went in, and he's homeless coming out, and with no real prospects of where to go next. Or a 56-year-old lady on disability who, due to her rent going up, found it untenable to live where she was living currently, has moved out into the motel but only has enough money for 3 weeks, needs a fourth or fifth week before she can transition into more affordable housing. Or maybe a family of 5 who recently were on the porch of the Jeremiah Tree, evicted from a family member who had let them come in and stay with them, and then out of nowhere asked them to leave. Those are the plight. And the reason I use those is not to be manipulative at all. Those 4 things are in my phone from this week. And it is my belief that those 4 situations, as well as the other ones that we face every day at the Jeremiah Tree, could have benefited from something like the Simon Kenton Project, could have benefited from a facility such as it. Not to mention the 65 families that we helped to provide housing to last year in the wintertime. Of those 65, we were able to connect 62 of those to long-term housing. But the problem, the plight, in our view, is getting worse. And the ability to transition and navigate the system continues to be troublesome. And so what we see with the possibility of Simon Kenton is a place that we could envision for those families, perhaps a bed to sort out the plight, a place of operation to go and navigate the other system units that we have in town, a possibility for a warm meal, and something that we're calling a hub of help. So not only the potential to shelter those in emergency situations, but also to connect those to services that would be residing inside the Simon Kenton facility. Things like circles, things like the Jeremiah Tree administrative offices, potential things like education or access more readily to CAP, or more readily to things like Green Cats, who we've talked with as well. And so the thought of the Simon Kenton Project is really possibilities. It really does lend itself to dreaming, to being visionary about what could be. If you think about from the standpoint that you have an open canvas of 52,000 square feet that's in a modular design that could be anything that we wanted it to be, it really does present an amazing place to dream. And so those are the possibilities. And again, they're driven by what we're seeing as the plight. And this is the plight of just a community, and this is the plight of a tiny ministry that's intersecting people every day. And so what we're seeing is that we needed to have a plan. And so when we were kind of informed that this potentially could come available, we started to put together a team of people to craft a plan. And part of that plan you have in front of you is part of a diagram of the facility. And some of the things that we have architected there are kind of sketched out as possibilities. It's in the document that has the picture on the front that was at the end of the video. That document shows things like the Jeremiah tree coming on board, circles, but the potential for a shelter, the potential for opportunities to consolidate food services in town. If you can imagine this family of 5 with something like Simon Kent to not only to be able to emergency house them, but they came in underclothed, underfed, with no real resource to continue to navigate the other things that they needed in town. That could all be done under this one roof. And so the plan is sketched out there. Those are some of the things in the vision that several of our team have kind of put together. It's nothing etched in stone, but it's just this idea that utilization of this space is very much a possibility and very much in line with being able to deal with the plight. And so what we've also given to you is a potential proposal. And the proposal is a very broad view. It paints some broad and big strokes financially about how we would go about doing this. Over the course of the last 3 or 4 weeks, as we've engaged just the idea of taking on and marshaling the project from our perspective, we've also reached out to other community partners to help assess where things are with the building. Things like the fire chief has been in, zoning folks have come by. We've had a roofer take a look at the roof. We've had HVAC folks look at the HVAC. Some of the other practical functional requirements that it would take to move in. And some of those numbers we have given to you in that proposal. Again, these are broad strokes. But if we took a look at some of the architectural plan as we were given that the city was potentially going to consider moving in there, it kind of fills in what that top part of that particular exercise looked like. So those numbers that you see there are all kind of in line with what would it take for us to take residents of the facility, some of the things that we're going to need to be done, whether it's us coming in or someone else coming in, and then ongoing what some of the potential milestones might be. And so as we're looking on that, we recognize that the entire proposal hinges on partnerships. And we want to engage and then mobilize the partners that we have. In a very similar model to how the Jeremiah tree evolved, we recognize that the same model is going to be required in order to take residents of this facility. And so we're looking for you folks as partners of ours. We're looking for the churches to come alongside and be partners of ours. Interestingly enough, the church's organization, the Xenia Association of Churches and Ministries, actually had their meeting at Simon Kenton this past meeting time. Had a chance to see the building from a church's perspective. We recognize that it is a big C kind of thing for the church to engage in. And we're seeing similar momentum from my perspective on the addiction side of the house as well, to where we're looking in partnerships with both social agencies as well as the church to help address that as well. So in a similar fashion, we can see this coming to fruition as well. And so as we've come together on these partnerships, we've also engaged the police to take a look at it from their perspective, to say, we know we're going to have security concerns. What are things and input that you can provide to the process for us as well? So over the course of the last 3 weeks, it really has been a collaborative effort of pulling the proper resources to take a look at it so that keep us grounded from the dreaming and the vision of trying to meet need to what is the practicality of being able to pull it off. And I think the proposal lays out, like I said, in very broad strokes, the practicality of being able to pull it off. But we also recognize that it's going to take some money. And one of the things in this partnership is a recognition of starting to create a list of potential private donors that might be good first targets, if you will, to reach out to and ask about pouring their investment into this particular project. And so that's on the horizon for us. But some of that conversation has already happened. Some of those names have already been thrown out there, and consideration, if we get past what we're here today to proposition, is on the horizon to do. And so part of that then will dovetail into some other conversations from a financial perspective with organizations such as, we have a group that specializes in nonprofit fundraising, and I meet with them next week. We're going to meet with a young lady that runs the Miami Valley Hospital Foundation, for example, on just to gain knowledge, gain some insight on how do we run a campaign that would be needed in order to manage and fund something like this, a project of this magnitude. And it all kind of comes around this idea of a verse that somebody I care deeply about shared with me the other day. It says, you can develop a healthy and robust community that lives right with God and enjoys its results only if you do the hard work of getting along with each other, treating each other with dignity and honor. And that is our heart for the project. We recognize this is bigger than the Jeremiah tree. It's bigger than many of us as an individual. But we recognize collectively this is something that I think and I believe can be a first step, an amazing step, into helping to heal some of the wounds that we have in our community, some of those that are challenged. And so that brings me kind of to where the rubber meets the road this evening, is our proposition this evening is we recognize that there's a moratorium associated with this facility that's coming up on November the 1st. What we're asking as the Simon Kenton Coalition is for an extension of that, allowing that to go on till the end of January 2015. We recognize that the city is taking on some risk in order to do that. We recognize that there's some skin in the game for you. But we're hoping over the course of those 90 days that we can begin to put a little more flesh around the bone of that proposal. Also have those opportunities to chat with those potential funding agencies, funding individuals. Also gain some insight about how we would go about raising the funds to do this. Recognizing that this would be done in a phased approach, as you can see from the proposal, but recognizing that we are pretty ready to begin phase one as soon as we could have some approval or an option to go forward. And that's putting things like Jeremiah Tree Administration and other things in there. So the proposition this evening is knowing that a motion would be needed to extend that moratorium to allow us to do that due diligence, to see if the feasibility and the finances could come together in order for us to deliver on some of the dream and some of the possibilities to help with the plight. And so I appreciate your time, and hopefully that was clear, and obviously open it up for questions.
Thank you. Colleagues, we have a request in front of us.
It's time for questions. I just have one.
Yeah.
Is this just open to Xenia residents, Greene County? Would this be available for like the Miami Valley? Because I think the only negative thing that I've heard at all is there going to be a flood of people coming from Dayton to use this facility? Or is that your intention to open this up to everybody?
I think it's been my experience so far, especially in the addictive space, okay? And I spend a lot of time there. In fact, working with the AG right now on some projects between the church and them. So I'm going to use that as context. We recognize that those situations are very geographical and demographical in nature. So given the way that other shelters and other solutions like this operate, they tend to be very geographically focused. I would anticipate that we would as well, allowing for those other communities to continue to step in and do what they need to do for their particular demographic, because it is quite different. Recognizing the population that we might receive is very unique from the urban population that Dayton might receive.
Okay.
And so I would think we would try to limit it to the Greene County area. We've had the question arise about whether or not, Fairborn, Beaver Creek and that. And my answer to that is why not Xenia? Why not be a leader in that area for those situations? We're getting them now anyway, at least from my experience at the tree. So hopefully that answers the question.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I think, are we directing proposal questions to you?
I think it's proposal on this, I think it's probably great.
I mean, as far as, under the proposal, what is our cost on insurance on that building?
We had that discussion a little bit the other day. I haven't been able to ascertain that exact amount because it's kind of embedded in our overall liability coverage. We are working on that. We've asked that question, so I anticipated it to come up tonight, but I don't have an answer yet.
Services?
It's not an exorbitant amount, I can tell you that. It's a percentage of, it's a minor percentage of the overall cost that we have with our liability insurance, because frankly, most of our liability coverage comes in the way of a lot of our service coverage.
That parking lot, that driveway, it's almost gravel road at this point. This says that we would continue services of mowing, driveway maintenance, and others. What kind of cost are we going to look at I'll be honest. In my opinion, that building pretty much needs demolished. There are a lot of structural needs for that building. So my concern is how much is it going to take to get that building up to where it needs to be, in my opinion, to stay in the community? And how much of that burden is Jeremiah Tree going to take on? How much are we taking on in this proposal? I mean, we just ate a $55,000 heat bill. I mean, you know, so obviously there's some issues there.
Well, let me try that first, because you recognize that currently, and even if the building's torn down, we're going to have a mowing expense there. That lot's going to have to, that 12 acres is going to have to be maintained. So, I think we're right up for the long haul in that regardless. With regard to the parking lot, I think you're probably looking at sort of a two-phase approach. There are some things that could be done on a short-term to intermediate-term basis to get it so that it's safe and passable. And then we could look at over the intermediate term and beyond a project, if council is amenable to look at, providing the funds or resources to be able to incorporate that into our street program 1 year to completely resurface that lot. So that kind of looks at those two things. And of course, you've got some long-term maintenance with that lot too, if council is amenable.
in all reality, we'd be looking at a couple $100,000 probably.
Well, realize for that type of a lot, we don't do the full depth reconstruction like you would on a street. It's going to be a much simpler project. Mr. Berger could answer probably the question better than I could. He's standing in the hallway, but probably not that much. But it's going to be tens of thousands up to probably 100,000.
But let me,
Bill type thing.
Yeah.
and let me perhaps clarify as well, at least what I think I understand. The request from you and the coalition this evening is purely at this moment to enter into a contract with you that we will extend our moratorium on demolition. The proposal that you've outlined here is something that is still, as you said, in broad strokes and perhaps contingent on your success at fundraising and other things that would take place in this period that you're asking us to stand down from, such that those particular 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bullets, while I appreciate you putting them out there, those may change up or down one way or the other, depending on your, again, success at developing partnerships and building a coalition. Is that true?
I think it was our intent to demonstrate our seriousness
Okay.
with wanting to do it. But you're totally accurate on what our objective was this evening,
Okay.
was to extend that moratorium to buy time to do the rest.
Thank you. Councilman?
If questions are done, I'd like to make the motion that we extend the moratorium.
And I will second that motion.
We have a motion and a second to extend the moratorium on demolition for the Simon Kenton property from the 1st of November to the 31st of January. Is that correct? 2015. Is that correct? Mm-hmm. Do we have any questions or comments on that motion, please? Councilman?
Questions, but one is we've been looking for some time as a city for use for this building. So I've talked with Greg, and I'm in full support of extending the period of time to investigate it, because the devils are in the details here. In general, though, I want this council and the community to realize that there's a lot of hidden costs that we're paying right now in this community to maintain or take care of a lot of problems around drug abuse or the addictions, the homelessness. I mean, I wish we can quantify the amount of money that our police department spends on it, the amount of money our planning and zoning department spends on it, the amount of money our citizens spend on picking up, people literally living under the bridge, the same bridge that all of us drive over every day. And I will guarantee they're there tonight. We can go right to that bridge, and they're going to be there tonight. So I'm in full support, not only the moratorium, but the project, and I'm eager to lend my support, so thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions, please? Councilman?
I mean, I don't know that I'm not in support of the project, because I think it's a good project. But what I am concerned about are things such as asbestos abatement that can cost up to hundreds of thousands of dollars. I mean, we went through that at H&A. I mean, those are extremely high cost if those things are found.
Yeah, I can shed a little bit of light on 2 points. One, I got from a good source out in the hallway that the parking lot, with the assessment that we did from the architects before, if you remember, is about a $70,000 expense to completely rehabilitate that lot. And then on the asbestos issue, which I think, Councilman Kalp's right, you have to be very, very careful with that type of material. Any major work that would be done in the building that would disrupt potentially that asbestos, of course, is a very contained process and can be very expensive. It's my recollection that the two major issues that were asbestos related in the building were the mastic underneath the gym floor tile. So if that space was intended to be largely kept intact, then I think that issue's mitigated. The second area was some asbestos lining on a lot of the stainless steel fixtures in the kitchen area. So there's a potential if some work was done in there that some additional steps would be have to take in. But I do recall that in general, the report that we got from the architect said that the overall asbestos concern was fairly minimal. So I echo Councilman Kalp's concern that it's something we should be aware of moving forward, and as the group would look at what plans, that should be incorporated into their overall decision-making process. But at this point, given what we know, it seems like it's an expense that could be absorbed or worked around.
Councilwoman.
And I think our city manager hit on a very important point, that it is the group who is investigating this. It is the group of the Jeremiah Tree and the community and the Association of Churches and many, many others, that even though the building is owned by the city, it is the group that is doing the research and the group that is looking for funding. And I highly suggest look for grants to move forward. And I hope that you are blessed in moving forward. And I hope that come January 31st that we will have great news that you come back with. But until we give you that opportunity of time to be able to do the legwork and the footwork and the investigation, then we're not doing justice to our community. So I wholeheartedly support giving you the time. And if we are able to give you the tools to help make that go, I would love to do that too.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Councilman.
Okay, well, my question earlier was, is that January moratorium enough time for you guys? That's only 3 months. Do you need longer than that?
Well, I think initially we were being conservative, so we were trying to work within the pressure of some of these concerns that Congressman Kalp has brought up to try to make sure that we kept our feet to the fire. I can defer that a little bit to see if Marlene or one of the others would
be better.
Yeah. We put it out there really understanding that
Right.
we were asking you to take a continued risk. And we recognized that we wanted to move the project forward quickly, but clearly if we could have more time to do due diligence, that'd be
I
great.
don't see why
on the
there can't be
31st,
longer
we
than
can-
that. You know, we just had somebody here a few months ago complaining to city council that we had a homeless problem. And we all agreed that we needed to do something. And then, boom, 3 months later, you guys are here. And I don't think there could be any better scenario for the city than to have an organization that's willing to step up and run the facility that's needed in our community when we have an asset that's already there. That's my opinion.
Thank you. Mayor first.
Well, of course, you all know that I certainly 100% support this. I've been in several meetings just to talk about this plan, visited on the east side of Dayton. So the east side of Dayton has their own plan, and they're doing a great work in a building, a huge building over there, and it's absolutely wonderful. And they not only have, they do some education too as well. And so it's not just housing homeless, but actually teaching people how to live in homes and how to take care of themselves and be self-sufficient. So I just praise you and thank all of you for coming out this evening. And you know I support you 100%. And we already know the outcome, that you have a heart to do what's right. And so we know that you'll be blessed by that.
Councilman,
Louder back.
you had your hand up first.
Oh, okay. Yeah, like Councilman Kalp said, we have a fiduciary responsibility to all the citizens of Xenia. So I'm anxious for you to get back with us. But I've got a childlike faith. Mm-hmm. If God wants it done, it's going to be done.
Amen.
Mm-hmm.
And you can talk to us all you want, but I think the one you need to be talking about is up there.
We've spent a lot of time doing that.
Well, I'm sure you have,
Yes.
but like Councilman Smith said, wow, we've got a lot of suffering in the city. And I see on some of your, is the bistro, is that like a free food kitchen?
It's actually dealt, Rob's team helps with kind of food education, but they provide a community meal once a week if they would come in and partner here in Xenia. And then they offer what they call pay what you can as an alternative. So any of us could go in and pay forward for someone who wanted to come in alongside and get a meal later on. And so it's a wonderful community entity that works in Miamisburg currently and is considering coming here as well alongside.
You know, I stopped at McDonald's before I came here, and outside was about a half dozen homeless. We've got a homeless problem.
Yes, sir.
And also like the Living Well Clinic, that is a great, great opportunity. I know they used to meet on Tuesday evenings, I don't know.
Still do.
So would they be in your facility?
They're considering coming along and partnering with us. We've reached out to them. They've sat in on a couple of the first coalition sessions. And so it is our intent to really take all of these things that are kind of continuing to work in their own silos and give them opportunity to come in and see the feasibility of getting under one roof, what synergies are there, what efficiencies are there, how can we learn from one another, how can we continue to advance the level of solution that we provide. And so we're kind of open to all of those things knitting together underneath the roof of Simon County.
I'm on the board of Community Action Partnership.
Yes, sir.
And I hope I'm not leaking something that's confidential, but it's a possibility. They might be looking for a... Okay.
We've maybe heard that too. So.
Oh, okay, so you're on
You're
top.
okay. Yes,
You're
sir.
on top of that.
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Other comments, please. Councilman.
It was just, you know, I can see, given the 3-month moratorium, we've had several extensions of that moratorium already. I guess it would be my wish to see us keep it at the January 31st that they originally requested. You know, we're moving into the winter months, and we did get stuck with $55,000 in heat bills last year. And I mean, that's a true cost to our citizens that we did not know we would bear this year. So, you know, if you know, the city's going to take a little bit of cost moving forward in this building, perhaps, maybe, you know, let's put the pressure back out there to have them bring us something back sooner, you know, rather than later.
City Manager.
Mr. President, you know, I think that there is a motion on the floor that's been seconded for
Yes.
that January 31st date. The sense that I'm getting from council, the general consensus is that that might be a good point to get a report. And I think what I'm hearing from the council is that just because that might be a report and sort of a moratorium deadline, that you know, we're not going to be prepared to get the wrecking ball out there on February 1st. So I think maybe if the understanding or if the motion was amended so that the first meeting in February to hear a report back from Jeremiah Tree and the association, the group, on a report, and then make a determination at that point, I do think that provides a good core amount of time for them to look at, you know, what progress they can make over the period of time, and then come back and have that discussion with council. And then I just want to add secondarily too, I think we've all seen over the past couple weeks with the events in this community and at Central Middle School what kind of community this is. And I think this council really demonstrated its heart for the community in our last meeting. I am so proud to be a part of a community with such a heart, and I see projects like this, recognizing a need in the community and people stepping up to try to fill that need, not relying on government to do it, but trying to do it themselves. And I'm remarkably proud and impressed and just very pleased to be part of this effort, and very thankful for these folks for their willingness to put their time and their effort and their treasure into something that's so meaningful. Very few communities, our size in particular, are doing this kind of thing. Not cities, communities are doing this. And I think it's a fantastic opportunity. These folks are going to be in our community whether we are partnering with this group to do this or not. And to the point that Councilman Long made, we are spending a lot of money in a lot of ways that none of us ever see dealing with this issue in our community. And it's much easier for me to sell this community to prospective investors externally if we're willing to make an internal investment for this kind of problem.
Other comments, questions, please? Councilman, given the city manager's observation, do you wish to let your motion stand, or would you like to amend it?
I'd like to make a stand. Let it stand.
Okay. We have
Well, I'm
motion-
sorry, did I?
No, if you allow it to stand, it is February 1st, the wrecking ball.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. No, I misunderstood.
Just wanted to make sure.
No, I
Bring
misunderstood.
back an
No.
extension,
State to-
second meeting in
if
It's
January.
a
It doesn't-
February 1st, they'll come back with a recommendation.
Right.
At the
Okay.
first.
That was my motion. Correct?
Okay.
So what I heard Councilman Louderback say, his motion states that Jeremiah, we all extend it to the 31st as it was stated. And the first meeting in February, Jeremiah Tree comes back and gives us an update. And then we will take the next step from there with the information Jeremiah Tree presents.
Correct.
Thank
No
you.
wrecking balls.
Yep, thank you. Any other questions or observations on this, please? Thank you very much, sir. I am in complete support of it as well. I've been quiet up to this point in time, but I also see the hand of our Lord in this particular activity, and I support our city manager in his comments clearly that Xenia is on the uptick, and it is clearly because the people that live in Xenia, not the government, not this, not that, but the people in Xenia, they're making it great. And this is an excellent example of where we are going as a community and how we must look to take care of all of our citizens. So thank you.
Well, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Roll call?
Roll call, please.
Vice President Long.
Aye.
Councilman Kaut.
Aye.
Councilman Louderback.
Aye.
Councilman Smith.
Aye.
Councilwoman Mills.
Aye.
Mayor Balis.
Aye.
President Engel.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you. Now we are on to a public hearing. Oh, sir, take a minute or two, allow you to clear. Thank you very much. I thought they might want to stay and talk about the five-year CIP.
Yeah, you're missing out on some good stuff. Hi, Harry.
I'm thinking it's going to be pretty fast.
At your house.
Thank you very much again for coming.
Oh, no.
You know how to clear out a room.
Seriously?
Now moving to our public hearing is required for our 2015-2019 five-year capital improvement plan. Mr. City Manager, would you like to introduce, please?
Thank you, Mr. President. Council, as required by Section 9.12 of the City Charter, Xenia City Council must annually conduct an advertised public hearing to allow public comment on the five-year capital improvement plan. Further, City Council must adopt a five-year capital plan as submitted or as amended by resolution on or before the first day of November of each year. Tonight, staff is requesting approval of an emergency resolution adopting the 2015 five-year CIP as submitted. As discussed with Council in our previous work session, the five-year capital improvement plan is a comprehensive work that takes into consideration availability of projected funding, policy priorities as established by City Council, and public feedback through efforts that include things like the X-Plan process and the Play Xenia initiative. Staff respectfully request Council conduct the public hearing and approve the plan by adoption of the emergency resolution.
Thank you very much. I will open the public hearing at this point and ask anyone left who would care to speak for the plan, please to come forward. Limit your comments to 2 to 3 minutes, please. Seeing none, if anyone would care to come forward and speak against the five-year CIP, please come forward. Limit your comments 2 to 3 minutes. And finally, if anyone would care to speak neither for nor against the five-year CIP, please come forward. Limit your comments 2 to 3 minutes. Seeing none, I will close the public hearing at this point and ask for an emergency motion, please.
So moved, Mr. President.
Moved by Councilman Louderback. A second, please.
Second.
Second by the Vice President. Any discussion or question on the motion? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Vice President Long.
Aye.
Councilman Kaut.
Aye.
Councilman Louderback.
Aye.
Councilman Smith.
Aye.
Councilwoman Mills.
Aye.
Mayor Balis.
Aye.
President Engel.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you. At this time, we have an opportunity for what's left of our audience to come and make comments, please. We have two now for those of you still in the viewing audience. If anyone would care to come forward and address the City Council this evening, please step to the podium, provide us your name and address. Limit your comments 2 to 3 minutes, please. Seeing none, let's move to reports of committees, please. Councilman Long, Planning and Zoning Commission.
Thank you. The October meeting of Planning and Zoning Commission was canceled for lack of an agenda. Just one point out, were you going to speak on the community forums later, so I will save that for him to talk about.
Thank you very much. Anything for Councilman Long on Planning and Zoning, please? Seeing none, Mayor Bayless and Mr. City Manager, mayors and managers, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. The mayor and I attended the event for the month at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base at the Officers Club. It was a fantastic evening, a very gracious host. The speakers were a couple of the base staff who discussed ongoing partnerships and their efforts to ramp up partnerships with the surrounding communities in conjunction with the base and the Air Force. I think both the mayor and I were particularly pleased with some of the things that they presented, the partnerships that they would like to extend. I've already taken some follow-up steps, had a discussion with our staff at our staff meeting last week, looking at what types of partnerships might be available. So we'll be in contact with their office, looking at, again, opportunities to work with their partnerships office at the base. And the food was fantastic that night. And the mayor and I got to sit at the Colonel's table, so we were wined and dined, and not so much wined but dined. And the Colonel shared his experience with Robert Downey Jr., who had been on base just the day before, trying to sell his new movie. So it was quite a good evening.
Thank you very much. Anything for the mayor or the city manager, please? Councilman Latterback, Miami Valley Regional Planning Commission, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. The October meeting was canceled and the November meeting is canceled also.
Thank you very much. Anything for Councilman Latterback and MVRPC? Seeing none, we have a couple of items from City Council and Mayor. First is I would like to request a motion to change upcoming city meeting dates, and I will enter them both under the same motion, please. From Thursday, November 27th meeting to Tuesday, November 25th, due to the Thanksgiving holiday. And secondly, from Thursday, December the 25th meeting to Monday, December the 29th, due to the Christmas holiday and to accommodate end-of-year fiscal closeout. May I have a second, please? Second by Councilwoman Mills. Any discussion or question on the motions, please? Or motion? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Vice President Long.
Aye.
Councilman Kaut.
Aye.
Councilman Louderback.
Aye.
Councilman Smith.
Aye.
Councilwoman Mills.
Aye.
Mayor Bayless.
Aye.
President Engel.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Any other items not listed from my colleagues for this evening, please? Seeing none, reports of city offices. Mr. City Manager.
Thank you, Mr. President, Council. The first item this evening is staff is requesting 2 motions that would facilitate completion of a Phase 2 of our slip lining program for this year. Bids were received for the second phase of the slip lining program from 3 firms, the lowest being from In Situ Form Technologies. All bids included the base project and 4 alternate options. In Situ Form's bid was $382,583.94. However, available remaining funding for slip lining as budgeted is limited to $356,920.50. Staff is very pleased with the overall low bid pricing, and we feel that moving forward with the entire scope of the project that includes the total bid price would be of good value to the city. Therefore, we are requesting an emergency ordinance to transfer remaining and unneeded funding totaling $25,656 from line 665-1332-55-305 to line 665-1332-53-251 to cover the additional cost. Further, staff request a motion to award the bid for rehabilitation of sewer pipeline Phase 2 project to In Situ Form Technologies in an amount not to exceed $382,583.94.
Thank you very much. May I have a motion, please, as an emergency to transfer the funds, please?
So moved, Mr. President.
Moved by Councilman Louderback. Second, please.
Second.
Second by the mayor. Any discussion or question on this motion, please? Seeing none, roll call.
Vice President Long.
Aye.
Councilman Kaut.
Aye.
Councilman Louderback.
Aye.
Councilman Smith.
Aye.
Councilwoman Mills.
Aye.
Mayor Bayless.
Aye.
President Engel.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Now a motion, please, to award the bid.
So moved.
Moved by the mayor, and a second, please.
Second.
second by Councilwoman Mills. Any discussion or question on this motion, please?
I have one.
Councilman.
Thank you very much. I guess my only concern with these bids is the local companies were $100,000 higher than a company from Missouri. I mean, are we sure they were bidding on the same thing?
Yeah, and I can tell you probably the best way to explain it
Because
is.
the other two bids were pretty close.
Right. But the best way I can say to you is in situ form, who I assume we're going to award the contract to, just completed phase one earlier this year. Number two, they are a national firm. They do this all over the United States. So I'm not sure I have any concerns, I guess is what I'm trying to answer you.
Already have
Volume business.
Yes.
Any other questions or concerns, please? Seeing none, roll call.
Vice President Long.
Aye.
Councilman Kaup.
Aye.
Councilman Lauterbach.
Aye.
Councilman Smith.
Aye.
Councilwoman Mills.
Aye.
Mayor Bayless.
Aye.
President Engel.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you.
The next item this evening is a request for two actions. First, to approve as an emergency an ordinance authorizing the requested supplemental appropriations for fiscal year 2014 to close out the Toller Road Trunk Sewer Project and to repair Engine 33. The second motion requested is to adopt an emergency resolution authorizing a payment on a then and now statement to Brackney Incorporated in an amount not to exceed $3,106.55. The supplemental appropriation request covers two items. The first is to close out the bike path restoration by Toller Road, which is part of an OPWC project, as council may remember. This appropriation is for $3,107, which would close out the project. This is within the 10% guidelines for closing the purchase orders, but due to the fact that the project crossed over the end of the fiscal year, funds were not available in the account for this closeout. The second motion is also required here for a resolution to authorize the then and now statement to Brackney Incorporated. The additional supplemental appropriation is for $15,000 for line 270, 1225, 53,740 to cover the unplanned expense of a pump repair in engine 33. The engine's original pump system is failing, which creates a significant operational liability for the fire division. In completing the pump rehabilitation for engine 33, staff feels that the life of this frontline unit can be extended and it should allow for a delaying and engine replacement for an additional 1 to 3 years beyond what was scheduled in the proposed 5-year CIP or what was approved tonight. So therefore, staff respectfully request adoption of the emergency ordinance and the emergency resolution for the then and now.
Thank you very much. May I have a motion, please, as an emergency for the first item?
So moved, Mr. President.
Moved by Councilman Lauterbach. Second, please.
Second.
Second by the Vice President. Any discussion or question on this motion, please? Seeing none, roll call.
Vice President Long.
Aye.
Councilman Kaup.
Aye.
Councilman Lauterbach.
Aye.
Councilman Smith.
Aye.
Councilwoman Mills.
Aye.
Mayor Bayless.
Aye.
President Engel.
Aye.
Carried.
Now a motion, please, as an emergency for the payment of the then and now expense.
So moved.
Moved by the Vice President. Second, please.
Second.
Second by the Mayor. Any discussion or question on this motion, please? Seeing none, roll call.
Vice President Long.
Aye.
Councilman Kaup.
Aye.
Councilman Lauterbach.
Aye.
Councilman Smith.
Aye.
Councilwoman Mills.
Aye.
Mayor Bayless.
Aye.
President Engel.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you.
This just goes to show that that 5-year CIP is a projected plan because we already need to amend it. So we just passed it and already there's an opportunity here to extend the likeness of that equipment. So. The final item this evening, and after a year's worth of negotiations, we're very pleased to present, is an updated contract with the Greene County Commissioners for continuation of the Xenia Green Joint Dispatch Center. As highlighted in your agenda reports, changes in the updated contract benefit both parties and serve to continue our 25-year relationship providing excellent service and efficient emergency dispatch operations to the citizens of Xenia and much of Greene County. The County Commission has approved the contract, and with the Council's authorization this evening, we will execute this long overdue update.
Thank you very much. May I have a motion to authorize the city manager to enter into the agreement, please?
So moved, Mr. President.
Moved by Councilman Kaup. Second, please.
Second.
Second by Councilwoman Mills. Any discussion or question on this motion, please?
I'll just have a quick
Councilman.
one. Now, city manager and I have talked about this contract a lot. As far as the new contract moving forward, I mean, we were successfully able to get some of the things in place as far as replacement of equipment and things of that nature. It's not going to affect our Bellbrook contract, not going to affect our new Sugar Creek Township contract,
Correct. This will leave those existing arrangements and relationships and contracts in place. The revised contract will also leave in place the contributions that, or reimbursements that are provided by townships back to the county will remain with the county, but with the proviso that if at such time additional contracts, and specifically Yellow Springs, should come under the city's fold in terms of services, that those dollars would all come to the city. In general, as you look at some of the changes that would relate to capital reinvestments and changes in terms of need for infrastructure and communication center, we've laid out what we think is a very fair and equitable plan to look at review of those expenses and payment of those expenses. So across the board, this should benefit both parties.
Thank you. Any other questions or concerns? Mr. Vice President.
The county's already approved this?
The commissioners have already approved and signed, and it's just waiting my signature with your authorization.
Any final questions, please?
Oh, is it on there?
Seeing none, roll call.
Vice President Long.
Aye.
Councilman Kaut.
Aye.
Councilman Lauterbach.
Aye.
Councilman Smith.
Aye.
Councilwoman Mills.
Aye.
Mayor Bayless.
Aye.
President Engel.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you.
Just a couple of additional updates this evening, and I don't think I have everything that I intended to have with me, so I might have to wing it on a couple of these things. First, there are some questions that were raised earlier in the week among a couple of council members, and it just relates to a conversation that we had previously about the Greene County Regional Planning Commission. After further evaluation and in response to, I think, Vice President Long's questions this week, staff will be recommending that the city move forward with terminating that relationship with the Planning Commission. Had some discussion on that point with the city planner, who has communicated my intentions to make that recommendation to council back to the director of the commission. As we look at the details in the contract, we found a provision that requires that we give a 1-year notice before we are to withdraw. So we are probably on the hook for an additional year. However, I'm pleased to report that based on what Mr. Forstner found, our contribution next year will drop from the current $4,050 to $2,632. So we will be paying a little more than half of what we currently are. But with council's acquiescence, we can serve notice that it is our desire to opt out of that arrangement. Is there a general consensus on that point?
I have a question. Why are we cutting in half? Is something in the contract?
I think it just has to do with how they have reassessed their expenses, and I believe I received some information late today that the county, and I don't have this confirmed, but the county may be, the commission may be kicking in some additional dollars to help cover some of the overall cost of the operation.
The casino money.
In general, one thing I've said on the last 2 years, I think Councilman Kaup, the 2 years prior to that at least, I enjoy and support the collaboration that commission brings to the table. I don't think it's worth $4,000 or $5,000 of our money, so I'm happy to see that fee reduced, and hopefully over the next year maybe we can figure out some way to maintain that collaboration between all our partners.
And I think, to be clear to the viewing public, our recommendation to withdraw is in no way reflective of Mr. Anderson or the services they're providing. In general, I think the communities that gain benefit from this operation, this organization, are smaller units that do not have a planning department, do not have some of the capacity that the city already has. So again, I would endorse what they do. I think it's important for the county as a whole, and certainly their leadership is very strong. But in the city's fiscal interest, at this point in time, we think it's the right step to move away.
We're not the only one. Most cities are out. I think
Correct.
all cities are out.
We're the only city remaining.
And Yellow Springs just voted to also not join. I got a little more political, I think, than just this year's fees. But.
Thank you. Any other questions on that particular update? And I believe City Manager asked for a consensus.
Yes.
Maybe next year it'll be free.
And next year it'll be free. I think you have consensus, Mr. City Manager.
Okay. Additional update tonight. I know I've been promising as part of our overall budget discussion moving forward this fall to bring back to council some recommendations on next steps related to economic development. And I know Councilman Kaup had raised some questions with me earlier today in an email I haven't been able to respond to, but I did want to kind of report on what we're kind of projecting moving forward. We need to coordinate with Xenia, but we are, after this week's staff meeting, looking at tentatively a November 13th date to have an additional report out, hopefully final report out from Gain. And we do that in conjunction with our quarterly ED report. If you remember, we pushed back from this meeting. We then, I think it would be proper and appropriate before we bring our recommendations in terms of an overall program overhaul and budget with regard to our economic development programs, to take that back to the Economic Development Advisory Board. So what I kind of wanted to present to council tonight was maybe some options in terms of when and how you'd like to get or have a discussion about our recommendations on economic development moving forward. My general recommendation would be not to look at using that last meeting in November for that purpose, because I think that will be a fairly robust discussion that the council will want to have. And that last meeting on a Tuesday before Thanksgiving may not be an adequate time to do that. So in general, my thought process is maybe if we look at early in December, a special session for the purpose of having that discussion and being able to provide these recommendations to council after we have an opportunity to talk to the Economic Development Advisory Board.
Consensus?
It's fine with me.
Have consensus. Please set earliest convenience in December when you've accomplished your other task.
Okay, and we'll coordinate with you, Mr. President, looking at a date and time for that.
Thank you.
And then finally, and I don't think I have it with me, Councilman Long mentioned a few minutes ago, but we are launching our neighborhood forums throughout the community, designed to solicit additional feedback on neighborhood issues and specifically focused on parks and recreation types of needs. We'll be launching, I believe, the first one in the East End. I had it sitting on my desk.
It's November 10th.
The first one is on October 28th, which is the Southwest Xenia, from 6 to 8 p.m., and that'll be at McKinley Elementary. And then the next is on October 3rd, which is the western part of Xenia, the Lanewoods and Old Arrowhead, and that's at Cox Elementary from 6 to 8 p.m.
Was that November 3rd?
October
November
30th. That's October 30th.
Okay, you said
Yes,
3rd.
sorry, I skipped down. I was reading the next line. October 30th for the west, and then November 3rd for North Xenia, which includes the neighborhoods of North Detroit, Old North End, Shawnee Park, Stadium Heights, Pinecrest Gardens, Meadowbrook, Country Club, Beverly Hills, Kinsey Meadows, Summerbrook, and Timber Ridge. And that's going to be held at Shawnee Elementary. That's on the 3rd. And then November 10th for the East End, 6 to 8 p.m. at the United AME Church. And then November 13th for the Southern Xenia area, Cincinnati Avenue, Buckskin Trace, Spring Hill, South Hill, and Orient Hill. And that will be at the Greene County Media Room. And you can find those online. They're on the city's Facebook page.
They're all online and on the Facebook, and we really strongly encourage people to participate. We're trying to respond to what folks want to have in their neighborhood and in their neighborhoods and across the city, but we need their feedback in order to do that. And as I said, I forgot the additional notes. I was reminded of one other item that I had intended on bringing up tonight, and that was we have, of course, been continuing our partnership and discussions with Central State University. Had another meeting just today, and we have a number of partnership opportunities that I'm very excited about. Some economic development, some workforce development related items. But one of the issues that was raised in the past 2 weeks by Central State needing some assistance, and from my perspective, I think the city needs to be obliged to respond. They do produce part of their own water at their water plant, and we subsidize probably to the tune of about 60 to 70% of their total water volume used. Their current plant is operated by an operator of record who has just self-terminated. He has accepted another position. So they're without an operator of record at a point where they are also facing some concerns from the EPA because of some problems they've had with their operation. They've approached us with a request to help them staff with an operator of record. So we have been negotiating an arrangement that would compensate the city to have our current water treatment plant operator work about an hour and a half a week at their plant to cover as their operator of record, which would allow them a time period to get to a point where they've got a more permanent and acceptable arrangement. We've been discussing the arrangement with the Ohio EPA, and they are in concurrence with the general proposal that we have set forth. And so the contract amount is not one which requires me to come back to council, but I did want to make notice to you that it was my intention to move forward with that contract because there is potentially some liability on the city's part utilizing our operator's license. So if there's any concern, I could certainly address that. But again, in the interest of a cooperation and partnership with Central State, I think it's the right thing to do to help them on an interim basis.
Questions?
Does the
Councilman.
Central State employer, are they licensed?
Their former employee did have the proper certification for their plant size. We actually have, in addition to our water plant supervisor, we have multiple other employees who are certified to be an operator of record at this plant. So we have multiple layers of redundancy, and they just did not. So again, this would provide a person who would provide the general technical advisory and oversight for their plant on an interim basis until they can get a more permanent solution for this.
Thank you.
Other questions, please? Thank you.
One final update. I told you I had a list, and these guys are helping me out here. I attended with our accounts receivable clerk a meeting with one of our favorite individuals on the planet, the good Senator Widener, in Springfield earlier this week. And the purpose of the meeting was scheduled with the representatives from the OML in regards to House Bill 5. And it was an opportunity for a group of city managers and mayors and tax collection professionals to convey to our senator what we believe will be some absolutely devastating impacts from this proposed legislation. I know this council and I personally are advocates of trying to make business simpler and easier. I think we're all advocates, and I've said many times on many occasions, in having to deal with local income tax forms, they're too complicated. So I think we would all agree that a simpler system is in order and would be appropriate for the state. However, the legislation that has been proposed is nothing short of a give back to certain segments within our population in the state. The potential outcome and impacts of this legislation, if passed as it has been introduced, will be devastating for our community and communities throughout the state. There are provisions in this legislation, one that I can think of off the top of my head, that would stipulate that cities could only collect income taxes from actual residents. Ladies and gentlemen, that would be devastating to this community. It would be devastating to this community. This is clearly a case of special interest that's kind of hijacked the concept of trying to make things simpler in the name of creating more jobs, when in fact this could be devastating to our tax collection capacity, and in the end does nothing to standardize and simplify local income tax collection. So it's our intention, talking with the finance director, we'd like to bring back a resolution recommended to council to oppose House Bill 5 and send that to the senator, and to endorse the recommendations as provided by the Ohio Municipal League and the Ohio City County Managers Association. This is a really, really important issue, and it looks quite likely that sometime after the November election that there will be a caucus by the Ohio Senate Republicans, and they will make a determination about final changes, if any, that they will be added by amendment to the legislation, that they will take a lame duck vote on this legislation before the end of the year. So again, I cannot emphasize enough how important it is for our citizens, for this council to speak out against this legislation. It will be crippling, and it'll be yet another step on top of local government fund cuts and estate tax collection and franchise fee, all the things that have been done to limit our revenue potential over recent years. It just undermines everything we've done to try to correct those prior things that have been done to us, and it would be devastating. So I could go on and on. I'll leave it at that. But again, we'll be bringing that back to you.
What was his position?
Actually, I was quite impressed with the senator. He was very open to a number of the major concerns that were raised. We talked with the senator about the fact that, one of the key points to this legislation is trying to make business simpler and easier and create jobs. And municipalities are already doing a lot to provide economic development incentives and stimulus in their local communities. One of the things that we're going to do in follow-up as a group across the state is put together a list of what we're doing financially right now. And I know this council's taken steps. Our income tax rebate program, all of the TIF arrangements and the special things, what we're doing across the street right now. These are all things that we are trying to do to provide opportunities to stimulate business and to provide a more business-friendly environment. And those efforts will be undermined and undercut if we don't have the tax infrastructure to support those programs. So in general, I would say his response to that issue was quite favorable. He recognized how much localities are doing to try to enhance business, and so I anticipate that he'll be a supporter of some amendments that should make the legislation better. Credit where credit is due.
Thank you. Any opportunity for joint resolutions? Would those be, as we've talked about for other issues, perhaps even more weighty?
I'll look into that, but it might be a possibility.
Thank you. Other questions, comments on that point, please? Seeing none, anything else, Mr. City Manager?
I will leave it at that.
Are you sure?
I think so.
Any last nuggets for our city manager before we move on? Mr. Finance Director.
Thank you, Mr. President. One item this evening, scheduled bills in the amount of $287,786.69.
May I have a motion, please, to pay our bills?
So moved, Mr. President.
Second.
Moved and seconded by Councilman Lauterbach and Kalp respectively. Any discussion or question on the bills, please? Seeing none, roll call.
Vice President Long.
Aye.
Councilman Kaup.
Aye.
Councilman Lauterbach.
Aye.
Councilman Smith. Councilwoman Mills.
Aye.
Mayor Bayless.
Aye.
President Engel.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you. Anything for our Finance Director this evening? Seeing none, Mr. Law Director.
Thank you, Mr. President. A few items this evening. First, requesting an introduction of an ordinance to transfer one property through the Mow-to-Own program. This property is, the applicant is Habitat for Humanity. They have done their prerequisite mowings for this particular property. We will prepare the deed and the quitclaim deed. We will prepare the deed and have it transferred.
Thank you. May I have an introduction, please?
So introduced, Mr. President.
Introduced by Councilman Kalp. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have an emergency resolution to authorize the city manager to accept the Victims of Crime Act, which is VOCA, and the State Victim Assistance Act grant awards. Since 1998, the Law Department's Victim Assistance Program has annually applied for and received a grant to partially fund the positions of a full-time advocate, Leah Lynn, and part-time advocate for after-hours calls, Sheena Nipper, and apply through the SVAA for partial funding of office supplies, cell phones for after-hours calls, printing, and small emergency fund for crime victims. These positions provide services to victims of crime in the Xenia Municipal Court jurisdiction and the City of Xenia residents by assisting individuals who become a victim of crime throughout the criminal justice process. Advocates are involved in the case as it happens via notification by law enforcement and upon the arrest of an offender on a 24-hour basis and assist crime victims through the sentencing phase of the case. We also provide training to law enforcement, social service agencies, and provide information to public groups as well. The on-call advocate is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for crisis response to crime victims and provides response to hospital if necessary. The Victim Assistance Program has submitted the grant proposals on behalf of the City of Xenia to the Ohio Attorney General's Office since 1998. We have been funded annually, but this is considered a one-year grant, and we are required to reapply each year. The grant award is to provide partial funding for one full-time advocate, as already stated, and the crisis response advocate. We have been awarded $59,073.05 in VOCA funding, which requires a 25% match, and $4,145 in SVAA funding, which does not require a match. There has been no decrease in funding since last year's grant awards. We ask that you waive a reading of the resolution at two consecutive meetings and pass as an emergency, a resolution to authorize city manager and the appropriate authorities within to sign and accept the 2014-2015 VOCA and SVAA grant awards through the Ohio Attorney General's Office.
Thank you very much. May I have a motion, please, as an emergency to accept?
So moved, Mr. President.
Moved by Councilman Kalp. Second, please.
Second.
Second by the Vice President. Any discussion or question on this motion, please? Seeing none, roll call.
Vice President Long.
Aye.
Councilman Kaup.
Aye.
Councilman Lauterbach.
Aye.
Councilman Smith.
Aye.
Councilwoman Mills.
Aye.
Mayor Bayless.
Aye.
President Engel.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you.
Mr. President, we have a couple second readings this evening. First is an ordinance amending the zoning map of the City of Xenia by rezoning a 2.98 acre area of land located at 2380 Bellbrook Avenue from B1 Convenience Shopping District to C PUD Commercial Planned Unit Development, originally introduced by Councilman Lauterbach.
So moved.
Move for passage. Second, please.
Second.
Second by the Vice President. Discussion or question, please? Seeing none, roll call.
Vice President Long.
Aye.
Councilman Kaup.
Aye.
Councilman Lauterbach.
Aye.
Councilman Smith.
Aye.
Councilwoman Mills.
Aye.
Mayor Bayless.
Aye.
President Engel.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank
Mr.
you.
President, next we have a resolution approving the amended solid waste management plan of Greene County Solid Waste Management District, originally introduced by Councilman Kaup.
So moved, Mr. President.
Move for passage. Second, please.
Second.
Second by Councilman Lauterbach. Any discussion or question on the motion, please? Seeing none, roll call.
Vice President Long.
Aye.
Councilman Kaup.
Aye.
Councilman Lauterbach.
Aye.
Councilman Smith.
Aye.
Councilwoman Mills.
Aye.
Mayor Bayless.
Aye.
President Engel.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Nothing further, Mr. President.
Anything for our law director this evening, please?
I don't
Mr.
want
Vice
to,
President.
the Mow-to-Own program brought this in my mind. At the last meeting, there was a gentleman here. Did we take care of him? Or?
He's taken care of, but it will be November 8th before he can actually get the property.
Okay.
Yeah, he's
Thank
he's
you.
aware.
All right.
He brought us a check the next day for the remaining balance he owed, and we've got it taken care of.
Great. Thank you. Any other thing for the Law Director this evening, please? Seeing none, anything to update or change from our summary of action items, Mr.
I'd like to add,
okay.
I mentioned last meeting, I thought maybe I was misunderstood. I'd like to have the Pledge of Allegiance by the Xenia school system added.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we are in discussion on exactly how to do that and what students we could line up for that. And in just looking at the summary of action items, the community funding guidelines will be coming back to council at the November 13th meeting with recommendations for additional funding with the remaining dollars. And we did talk about economic development. I think we're on course with that. And we are involved in some discussions right now on the Family Entertainment Center. And so I hope to have more information on that within the next 2 weeks to present back to council.
Thank you very much. Anything else, please? Seeing none, reading of communications and discussion. Councilman Smith, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just 2 items. Just that most of us were involved in the joint meeting with the Xenia Community Schools Board of Education and Council. That was on Tuesday. I kind of went into that meeting thinking, oh, wow, it's just another meeting. But actually, when we left, I felt really good that that we're making steps to be really collaboratively working with other community leaders. We're all on the same page. We're not here because we make a lot of money. We're here because we're passionate about the community. So I was just really impressed with the school system and our superintendent, and that he's working really well with the city, and I think that's great. And also just wanted to let people know, I did promise to pass this information on Saturday, November 15th, right here in Xenia. There will be an event at the Schindler Banquet Center. It is a holiday bazaar with the emphasis of shopping local and showcasing Xenia businesses. And if you're not sure where Schindler is, that is at Legacy, the
old children's home.
Old Children's Home, OVCH, right? Mm-hmm. And Schindler Banquet Center sits kind of towards the back. It's real easy to get to. You're going to start probably seeing some signs on that. They have some business supporting that. There'll be vendors there. There'll be some craft items there. And they're working on a few entertainment venues for that. But that Saturday, November 15th, it's 9 to 5. They are asking for a small donation for admission or a couple canned food items. And that will go to a local food pantry here as well. And that's, oh no, I got one more thing. Okay,
Brent?
I'm sorry, but I was really disturbed the other day. In our city, within just the last couple of days, somebody has spilled paint. I don't know if you've seen that. And I brought it up to Brent. I brought it up to Ed Quinlan, our public service director. There are commercial trucks out there, and I think they're painters, and they're not aware of it, but they're spilling paint along the road. Sometimes you can see a puddle where they're parked. And if that's noticed right away, if you're a citizen and you're driving behind that, then you'd certainly need to let somebody be aware of that. Because I've seen paint at Detroit and Kinsey. This summer we had it at Hawkins Road and Fairgrounds. There's some at Colorado and Upper Bellbrook. There's some on like Carolina Drive. I don't know if it's malicious, if it's vandalism, or if it's just carelessness. But I just thought, we got this really nice intersection going on at Kinsey and Detroit Street that we've been waiting on for a long time. And then we've got probably $30 worth of paint that makes it look really ghetto. And so if you're seeing this happen, please call. Who would we call? Police?
If it's something that's recently happened, you can either call the non-emergency number or dispatch, or you can call Public Service Department.
Okay, or get a license plate number or whatever, because you're driving through that too, and that's going to get on your car. So I just wanted to pass that on. It just seems freakish that we've had so much of that. It's kind of sad, but other than that, thank you. I'll get off my soapbox.
Thank you. Councilman Latterback, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. A few items. Number one, our 2014 leaf collection schedule is out. I'm not going to read all these dates, but November 10th through the 14th, it's Zone 1. That's the northeast section from Church Street north to include North King, Northwest, North Galloway, Beverly Hills, Summerbrook, and Kinsey Meadows neighborhoods. The city staff would like to have your leaves raked to the curb the Monday before your pickup. And if you don't get an opportunity to get them to the curb, there's alternate methods. Rumpke will take up to 14 bags per residence each week. Or you can take your bagged leaves to the Greene County Recycling Center at 2145 Greenway Boulevard. Also, on electric aggregation, and I'll defer to you, I know I got a letter in the mail recently, and I just want to make let the citizens make them understand. If you got the letter, that doesn't mean you have to do anything. If you want to opt out, you have to do something. Is that correct?
That is correct, and overall, I think we've gotten some calls. We haven't been flooded with calls. A lot of what we're, yeah, it's generally, I'm optimistic about that. I think people are paying attention, so let's cross our fingers. But yes, if you received a letter, there's nothing you have to do if you want to be included in the aggregation program.
Which is a 15% reduction. Correct. Yeah. Also, I stopped into a new restaurant. They're going to be opening in November. It's Solar Flare. I hope I have the right. Is you
Solar
familiar?
Flare Bistro.
Okay, that's on Cincinnati Avenue where Rubio's used to be.
Yes.
I walked in and they've really done a great job of cloth table. It's going to be a nice restaurant. So anytime a new business opens up, first thing I ask, how'd the city treat you? And they was nothing but complimentary on how they were treated from A to B. Now, the Greene County Health Department is a different story. But as far as the city, and I'm really pleased to hear that, because in this city, we always haven't had that response.
And if I could respond to that, one of the recommendations that we'll be bringing back to council that we've been discussing in terms of economic development programming, we want to launch a program where we'll be working in conjunction with the county building department as well as the health department to provide a sort of liaison service to help businesses who either want to open or who want to make updates, upgrades to their facilities and navigate that process. One of the biggest problems we've had recently, we have several businesses that are either trying to open or upgrade their hoods over their cooking areas. And it's taking just excessively too long through these agencies, and we recognize that. It's not us slowing it down, it's the other regulatory bodies, but we feel like we can provide a service to try to help expedite that process. So we are trying to respond to that in conjunction with those agencies.
It's much appreciated. One other thing, I'll piggyback on Councilman Smith's. The school board meeting we have is very informative, and I'm glad we're meeting with them. I know it's a great meeting. I think we ran over about an hour longer than we should have been, but I wasn't bored at all. But and lastly, Xenia football tomorrow night. If they beat Lebanon, they get into the playoffs. No.
They need help.
Really?
They got to win their last two, and they got to get help.
Okay. Your sports editor said different in today's paper.
I didn't read it, but we talked about it. He knows.
No, in today's paper, it said if Xenia beats Lebanon tomorrow night, they are automatically in the playoffs. But, okay, well, but anyway.
I wonder what he was drinking when he wrote that.
Maybe he was talking about Greenview, I don't know. But anyway, no, but it.
Yes.
No, you're on national TV. But anyway, irregardless if they make the playoffs or not, let's go out and support them, because they have a great program this year. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Kaup.
Thank you very much. Along on the football notes, Xenia Wee Bucks joined a new league this year, and I'm happy to report 60% of our teams made it through the first round of the playoffs. And we'll be playing this Saturday at various locations: Huber Heights, Centerville, et cetera. So good luck to all the youth football players still in the playoffs. We have one or two teams that might make it another round or so, probably. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Mills.
Thank you. If you are not a football fan and you do not wish to go see Xenia, I would like to invite you to the extension of Movie in the Park. And that will be tomorrow night at Faith Community Church. And what it's going to be, and that's the church next to Subway and Groceryland, but we're going to be having a pre-movie activity, which is trick or treat. So wear your outfits if you'd like. Come and go trick-or-treating with us. That gives you your movie candy. And then we will be showing the movie Monster House, and that will be at 7. Popcorn and drinks and a great time is always provided. This is free. There's no cost at all. This is the beginning of the next 4 movies that we will be showing. Will be indoor during the off seasons, and then we will go back to the park for June, July, and August. So if you are able to bring your family and come and join us, please come and join us for Trick or Treat and Monster House beginning at 6:30 tomorrow night. And our next movie will be in December, and that will be Frozen. So it's a very good time. We use the same blow-up screen as we do at the park, so it is truly an event to see. When we were talking about how we can help others in our community, we are having a spaghetti dinner fundraiser at the Christ Episcopal Church, and that will be on November the 7th from 4 to 7 p.m. I'm going to give you the phone number of 372-1594. And the one nice thing about this meal is if you can't come out and join them, there is takeout available, so all you have to do is come and pick up. So if you would like to support the homeless shelter that we have in Xenia, that is an opportunity to do so. And then I would just like to welcome Solar Flare Bistro to our community. I'm very excited and wish them the best of luck. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor.
Thank you. I was able to go by the Circles Walk at Green Memorial Hospital, the Victory Walk, and it was really nice. Afterwards, in the parking lot, they had a huge purple circle. So those supporters got on that circle, and then in the middle was a V for victory, and cancer survivors were on the V. So it was an excellent event, and they did generate quite a few funds. Also, went to the ribbon cutting at Country Blessings, and that's at 491 West 2nd Street. And it's been there, but it's changed ownership now, I guess, and it's still in the family. But really, really nice and really nice gifts, some food items as well. So if you haven't been there, or if you haven't been there in a while, I would encourage you to go. It's just really nice atmosphere and a great family working there. And then I was a part of Central State's homecoming in the parade. And this is the first time since I've been mayor that I wasn't the Grand Marshal. So the Grand Marshal actually gave $1 million to Central State University. So I guess when I give my million, I'll be Grand Marshal again. But the president did call me personally from the airport as she was leaving just to express her thanks to the Xenia Police Department for what they did during all the things that happened at the campus that evening. And of course, you know, you hear about those things, but remember there are lots of people that aren't at Central State University but hang out there. They come to those kinds of things, and so, but Central State gets, you know, their name out there. But she was very appreciative to our police department. I got a call today from the President Terry Burns at Green Memorial Hospital, and there was an article in the paper talking about the Special Disease Center, and he said he would be willing to take any calls that anybody might have concerning that, because of course when you hear special disease you think of Ebola. And he said it's really a preparation training center. It's located in the old emergency room. It's not part of the hospital, and it's 100 yards from the Greene County Health Department. It has its own entrance, but it could be prepared for Ebola treatment. He's been to all kinds of meetings, and I took part in an online, not online, but a call-in was to mayors in Ohio, and they had representatives in Ohio as well as national representatives talking about the disease and where we are. And of course, everybody assures you that it's not as bad as it appears to be, and that in fact the two nurses, one has gone home and the other has been downgraded to good condition. So upgraded. Sorry. Thank you for that. Yeah. So anyway, but again, if you have questions about that, and I know I did get another call from someone who did have a question, why Xenia for this treatment center, but they will have one that they're talking about for Miami Valley Hospital in downtown Dayton, as well as Miami Valley south of Dayton. That would be another center. So anyway, just to be prepared, just in case. I did present the Beautification Awards. This was the last round of the awards today, and it was a beautiful day. And after our Board of Education meeting, the president, Mrs. Cheryl Marcus, who's the board president, was so excited she wanted to go with me. So she went along for the ride, as well as my other two friends that enjoyed going around looking at the beautiful homes. And she took pictures and just it was just great. But again, it's that feeling of community again, with the schools and the city working together and being together. So it was a great day. And lastly, on November the 1st, there will be a parade in Xenia, and it's Wilberforce University. And their theme, if you talk to someone, it's a great day at Wilberforce University. So they're very positive, and they're moving forward. So they are going to have a parade. I'm not sure the time. I think it's like 10 o'clock or 10:30, and they'll go kind of around the same area that we did with our festival. So that's just for your information. If you have any groups that are interested, would be interested, it's not too late. And I just talked to my pastor last night who's heading that up. And so if you do know any groups who would like to participate, or if you have any floats that were used and could be used again, if you call United AME Church, or me, we can direct you in the right way. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Vice President.
Thank you. I too enjoyed the joint school board meeting. It's a very positive collaboration between both these bodies and the administration there. Two items, just want to, again, anyone watching at home, encourage them to take part in the neighborhood forums coming up for the parks. There's a lot of parks with a lot of potential, and this is a chance to get that heard. The last item is just to last year was the first year that this group done it, but they held Xenia's basically restaurant week, and their Xenia Eats group are having it again this year, starting on, it's actually 2 weeks, so I guess it's restaurant weeks, November 1st to the 15th. You can find them on Facebook under Xenia Eats, and they release the details. If not, call a local restaurant. And many of the Nick's and Willie's and Xenia China, many of the local and restaurants participated in it. And I'm pretty sure it's just the local, they don't, franchises do not participate in that. So enjoy a meal and maybe a little discount or something. That's all I have.
Thank you very much. The only item I have would be to echo all of my colleagues' observations about the joint meeting with the school. This is our second one of these. We already have plans for one in the post-New Year timeframe. I would suggest to you that you have excellent leadership, both within your city and within the school district at this point in time. The degree of collaboration between us as council members, with them as board members, and between our city manager and their superintendent is nothing more than absolutely refreshing. I am seriously looking forward to furthering that conversation. The topics that we addressed at this last meeting were more or less follow-ons from the one before, and your city manager and your superintendent are doing everything they can to find areas of partnership, and your council members and board members are committed to finding ways to use resources together, develop resources for the institutions, and just basically do better for you as a community as we can operate together cooperatively. So past that, I have nothing more and would ask for a motion to adjourn, please.
So moved.
Moved by Councilman Kaup. Second, please.
Second.
Saying nobody wants to end. Mayor, roll call, please.
Vice President Long.
Aye.
Councilman Kaup.
Aye.
Councilman Lauterbach.
Aye.
Councilman Smith.
Aye.
Councilwoman Mills.
Aye.
Mayor Bayless.
Aye.
President Engel.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you.